So the next one, the English language teacher's perception of their language use. Um, in our research instruments, we have an interview questionnaire wherein we're going to ask the teachers themselves on whether they perceive themselves as competent in the use of the language itself, of the English language, whether they deem themselves confident or competent or not. The next one, the English language teachers teaching in an ESL class.
Okay, so for this research paper, since we have mentioned these expected outcomes, we mentioned that we seek to find the teachers, English language teachers' difficulties in their English language. So part of our research paper is to be able to suggest different strategies, and of course, for this, we have one strategy that would fall to this one, the English language teachers' perception of their English language use, because one of the strategies would require the teachers to be able to monitor their English language use. And of course, for us, we would not only want the teachers to be able to gather different strategies na it's not just only one-time, big-time opportunity, but we would also want the teachers to be able to have the knowledge of different strategies that they can continue to use, that when we have finished, if ever we would finish this research paper, the teachers could still be able to use their strategies that would suit to their needs and of course improve further in their language use.
Okay, so next. So after the implementation of different recommended activities, the English language teachers will increase their level of proficiency. So like what Hazel said earlier, through the use of our research paper, it can continue on by, uh, by making the research paper itself as a guide or as a reference their uh, to improve their proficiency in the English language. So the next is the English language teachers will learn how to use different strategies in further improving their language proficiency. Here, in our paper, we're gonna suggest different different implementations or different strategies that teachers could use to improve their teaching, their teaching and their proficiency in the English language.
Okay, so all of these things would be would come to would be able to happen after we suggest different recommended activities. So we can see that our main goal in our paper is to be able to help the teachers with their needs. So for this one, we believe that this is very important for the teachers to be able to monitor their level of proficiency, because of course, for example, a certain teacher has a difficulty in speaking. So the teacher would be able to monitor his or her speaking skills, and of course, with the use of or suggested activities, we would be able to help them, of course, to aid their needs and their difficulties. And if ever they improved in their speaking skill, they would not stop there. They would still continue to further improve because of the monitoring skill and the different strategies that we have suggested.
Next, the English language teachers will be better models for the English language. Now here, not only that the teachers will become better models for the English language itself, they could become the better models for their students. So next one, the students will increase their level of proficiency with teachers as better models of the English language. Now connecting it to the previous bullet, you can see that the teachers will become better models for their students.
Okay, so we believe that it is very important to be able to provide competent models to the students. So because of course we are living in a country where English is used as a second language. So of course we don't really often see or we don't often encounter different people who uses English as their first language. So of course, in learning English, it's important to have models. So for us to be able to, for the student to have a basis or someone to learn from.
Next. Now, here are our research instruments.
Okay, so this is our example of the predetermined checklist. So as we have mentioned earlier, the predetermined checklist is for us to be able to identify different criteria or different aspects that we are finding or looking for the teachers. So for example, for this one, we have different categories. We have accuracy, fluency.
For accuracy, you can see that in this category, the questions are: the teacher had a wide set of vocabulary in his or her word bank. The teacher used correct grammar in their sentences. For fluency, the teacher had no trouble pronouncing each word in his or her sentences, and the teacher was able to execute speaking English throughout the process. Now, you can see here that the checklist doesn't have a neutral zone because we want to avoid students just checking the neutral zone. So uh, they would have to compromise whether they strongly disagree, agree, or strongly agree.
Okay, Miss will read if ever you cannot see. The teacher had proper pauses when he or she is speaking. And we also have the category of self-awareness because as we have mentioned, monitoring is very important. We have the teacher managed to correct any mistakes he or she emitted immediately. And the teacher used appropriate vocabulary considering his or her students' year level.
In class handling, the class was responsive in participation. The class was able to speak English in all or throughout the period. The teacher was able to correct any of his or her students' mistake immediately. The teacher was able to address any concern of the students with regard to the topic and answer it in English. And finally, the students were able to understand the topics discussed by their teacher through his or her assessment activity. Now, for our interview, like we said earlier in the previous slides, uh, we had a research instrument wherein we're going to ask the teachers whether they are competent enough with the use of the English language itself. It involves here. Now we're going to enumerate one by one. First, okay. So you can see that we're just going to send Miss the PowerPoint of it all, so you can see it clearly.
And Miss, this is included in our methodology paper. So yes, this is only a sample, so we don't have the complete list of the questions. But our interview questions included asking the teachers of their language background in terms of their language use, and language teachers' perceptions of their English language use, and then their difficulties, different difficulties, and of course we if the teachers are also comfortable in speaking the language, because as we have been learning in our different classes as English future English teachers, we have learned that being comfortable or being comfortable in speaking the language is very important, so that for example in the teacher's speaking skills they would be able to address the needs of the students. And this is our standardized test. So, Miss, this should be found online. So,
Are you going to send the link?
yes. This is the sample. This is what the online standardized testing looks like. So, this standardized test includes tests for different macro skills such as listening, speaking, writing, viewing, and reading. So for this one, we have here like different pictures. So for example, for this picture, the teachers will be able to assess their viewing skills by, for example, looking or interpreting this picture, and then they can respond to us by, for example, speaking or like explaining what they think about the picture and such.
Yes, and if you can see that, if you go to the website, there are certain portions of the test where the listening component is addressed, where you can see that there's a sound button right here, where the teachers would get to listen and test their listening skills.
Okay, so we chose this standardized testing because it includes all the macro skills, and we believe that we will be able to better assess the teachers if we are not only using like objective tests, but we would also be able to assess their actual use of the English language.
And what we're going to do is that we're going to supervise the teachers while they're taking the test because it's just a short test that they're going to answer, and we can easily get the results after the test after they take the test. So,
Okay.
okay, thank
Thank you,
Miss.
Miss. Get well
Get well soon.
soon. God bless.